Hi everyone, this is Ron with Santa Car Services, and I'm trying to make this quick. This is take 5. I'm trying to help everybody out with a little bit of a visual tutorial of the answer to a question that's been asked a lot in the last week to me, both in open forums and in direct messages. And the question is simply this. I have a bearing noise that sounds like it's in the transmission, and when I push the clutch in or release the clutch, the bearing noise will go away. Well, let's quickly go over the two things that can be the deciding factor in that. And the first one is going to be your forward bearing. Your forward bearing, this is the one that I explained to everybody, is the most important bearing in the transmission. It's actually the most important part of a 2D because it's the weak link and it's the one that causes everybody the most amount of money, short of the people that like to jump on their clutch at the sand drags in second gear and strip out their teeth. But that's a different story. And I've been a member of that club myself. But this forward bearing is sitting above the oil level. So if you look at the fill port for your 2D, the 2D holds a gallon of oil. Hopefully you're running 140 weight in here so that your gears last longer. But if you draw a center line across the back of your transmission, half of your pinion shaft and all of the gears are sitting in oil. So this bearing back here in the gear carrier housing for the forward pinion usually doesn't go bad unless you have contaminated oil of some kind, right? But this forward bearing, which is the bearing that sets the spacing and the center line for your entire main shaft and that entire gear pack that's inside your gear carrier, this bearing sets all of that. It is so important. So when this bearing goes bad, like the one that happened, this is Steve's transmission. Hi, Steve. We're still waiting for your tail cone to come in, and then you can have your tranny back. This is what his noise was. Had this bearing failed like the one I showed you guys about a month ago, where all the balls ended up inside the cone, it could have gotten really disastrous. Fortunately for Steve, the only bearings that had to be replaced outside of a refresh, a basic refresh, is the pinion bearings and races, and those only went bad because the prior builder didn't Loctite and pin the preload nut properly on the pinion shaft, and so the pinion bearings went bad. So we changed those out, but this is one of the bearings. The other one that I'd like to talk to you about that will make noise with or without the clutch applied is what's called a throwout bearing. Your throwout bearing sits right on inside your bell housing, and it is responsible for releasing your clutch pressure. It's what allows the pressure plate to release your disc and allow your disc to spin, which is how you get neutral and how you get movement, but not full movement. So when you push on your clutch, you pull on this right here. Your slave cylinder will pull back on it. In the old days with Volkswagen, this was a cable, and the cable would pull. Now we have hydraulic systems, so the hydraulic pulls. And as you pull, your throwout bearing pushes on your pressure plate springs. Well, when that bearing goes bad, it usually rattles pretty loud, sounds pretty bad. But as you start to apply pressure on your clutch pedal, you will start to put pressure on that bearing and sandwich the bad bearings if they're bad, and the noise will start to go away, and the harder you press on the clutch, the quieter it gets. That's usually a telltale sign that your throwout bearing's bad. But if the noise sounds like a grind, like somebody dragging a piece of brick across a concrete sidewalk, but quieter, it's probably this bearing here. And this bearing only sees oil when fourth gear splashes it, which is why I'm so adamant at running the CX11 from Weddell, which is what they recommend. There is a 3-piece bearing. We talked about that earlier, but I don't like the fact that it's got the bearing race is made of a hard plastic and it looks like a seal. And to me, you can't splash that bearing properly, even though Dan swears that they're longevity-wise, they're a better bearing. So it is extremely important for those of you that have noises in your transmission to get them out and get them looked at by whoever's building your transmissions. because it can save you a lot of money. If this bearing fails, it will chew teeth up on your gears because the shaft will start bouncing up and down. So any questions, please send them to me. I got to cut this short. Hopefully this helps you guys out and it's a little bit of information for you. Thank you for watching Ron at Sandcar Services. Have a nice day.